So you're probably wondering, why is this boot so big that you could work in it if you want to? I'll tell you. This is the Audi A4, which begs the question, is it a poor man's Audi A6? Let's find out. So talking about the design of the Audi A4, there are two prominent models, the Audi A4 Avant and the Audi A4 Sedan. In this case, we have the Avant, and this is the B8 model, which is facelifted, and you can recognize it very well from the xenon headlights with the headlight washers and these cornering lights on the bottom. From the front, it looks very nice. It looks like a very big, sturdy car in this case. Also the grille design, I very much like the design of this Audi. In this case, you can also see some major differences with the normal models and with the sportier models like the S-Line or the RS4, from which the front totally looks different. So you can recognize the model of the car by the looks of it, which in this day and age isn't the same because all the S-Lines, RSs and normal models almost all look the same. Alright, so looking at the side profile of the Audi A4, you can really see that it's a very big car. There's a lot of windows in this car, so you do have to clean a lot. So you never lack visibility in this car. It does have privacy curtains in the back, which you can put up or down, which I very much like. In my opinion, that's a very luxurious option. This one is still very much not blacked out, so it's you do have a lot of chrome on the side. Chrome on the window trims, chrome on the roof racks in this case, so still a lot of chrome. In this case also in the front and in the back. I do still like the design of it, and the car doesn't even feel that big when you're driving it. So one thing that did caught my eye is this rectangular shape inside of the door, which most of the times means that the door is keyless or that the car is keyless, but in this case it doesn't work, so that's a bit weird. So looking at the back of this car, we can definitely see something that a lot of people may recognize. The Avant part of the car. The tail lights in this case do look a little bit different. You have, as we saw in the intro, we do have a lot of space in this car, so you can take your dog, whole family and everything you own to whatever vacation you want to go in this car. So that's great. This one doesn't have the electrically operated tailgate, which would be a nice option. And I would also recommend to tint the windows because that would look a bit nicer. On this case, we can see on the bottom of the car, we don't only have parking sensors, but we also have two exhaust pipes, which in my opinion looks very sporty and does give this car a bit of a nicer stance overall. Alright, so getting in the back of the Audi A4, we have a lot of room in this car. We have loads of knee room, loads of headroom. We have a black roof liner, which looks sporty and luxurious at the same time. We do have an armrest in the back, which is very nice in my opinion. There's loads of space to put in an ISOFIX child seat. Only one thing that's very weird about this Audi, you have ISOFIX points, but you have to cut into your own seats to put the anchor points of the ISOFIX in. So that's something very weird about this car. Don't know why they did it. Maybe to cut cost or something, I don't know. Furthermore, it's very nice electrically operated windows, as I said, these privacy curtains, and you sit really nicely. So it's very nice for longer trips. Right, so getting in the car and having a drive. In this case, we have the 1.8 liter turbocharged petrol engine in this car, which puts out 170 horsepower via an 8-speed dual clutch, if I'm not mistaken in this case. And I do have to say, this Audi, it is from 2012, but the shifts are so smooth in this car, it's better than newer automatics in my opinion. In this case, we do have pedal shifters, so I can put the car in manual and then drive and shift up myself when I'm at enough RPMs, and otherwise I can just put it back and it goes manually. So that's very nice. I'm a very big fan of this steering wheel because it's flat on the sides, and if you have the RS model or the S-Line model, the bottom will also be flat. But I really like the design, and also it feels very nice. It's not a very small steering wheel. It's not massive either, so it does add to the driving experience of this car. The car is very well isolated, so even though you're driving at higher speeds like 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers an hour, it still is pretty quiet in this car. As said when I was sitting in the back, I really like this dark liner in this car. It looks very nice. Even though the interior is a bit outdated for today's standards, it still is very nice. So that's something I'm very keen on. The leathers, the plastics, everything still feels good. It looks nice after all those years. Suspension, very nice. Gas response, nice. The brakes could maybe be a little bit better. But overall, I'm very impressed by a car of this age, this build, and everything that goes with it. The only thing I do have to say about the transmission, even though it's very fluid in this case, you don't really notice when it shifts up or down. Sometimes it doesn't know which gear it needs to be in. So when you're pulling off from a traffic lights, it sometimes needs a moment to get into first gear, second gear. Sometimes when you're not even pressing the gas pedal as much, it already shifts down 1 or 2 gears and starts to go when that's not really the thing that you intended it to do. So that's maybe a bit weird sometimes on this car, but very nice, very economical because it does have 8 gears in this case. We do have analog dials and we do have digital dial also in the middle, so you can see exactly how hard you're driving, which driving mode you're in, how many kilometers the car has run, and many more things. You can fix it however you like it. Same goes for the navigation system. As you can see, it is pretty old, but most of the people would still use their mobile phone these days, or maybe plug in an Android Auto or Apple CarPlay unit in this car. So that's about it for the navigation and multimedia, so you can upgrade it a little bit. But I am really a big fan of this design, because if we were to compare it to something like the new Audi A4 or maybe even the Audi A6s, I think the interior doesn't look as good for the money you're spending, because here you can see a nice full well-built dashboard, and in the newer models it's just plain empty. You have one little screen which looks like an iPhone 13 Pro Max or something. It doesn't really fit the car in my opinion. In the A4, not especially the A6 in this case. But coming back to the question I asked myself and you guys earlier in this video, is this Audi A4 the poor man's A6? I wouldn't say so. I think the Audi A4 deserves more love than it gets at the moment. Of course the A6 is maybe a bit more luxurious and maybe faster, even if you're comparing the RS4 and RS6 models. But this really is a very lovely car, and I do understand why a lot of people would buy this for less money than the A6. It's almost the same car, but with a different price tag. And for the people who care, it is a little bit smaller, so it's maybe a bit easier to maneuver around the city or parking it. But I'm very impressed by this car in this day and age, over 10 years old, still holding up this well, still driving better than newer cars. The saying they don't make them like they used to, it's very true in the case of this car. So I have a lot of positive things to say about it. Design wise, like we talked about standing outside of the car, I do really like the front of the car. It still looks very modern and sporty in my opinion. The back does look a bit sluggish, especially for this day and age. Something that is very stupid in my opinion is this climate control system in this car, because as you can see right here, we do have the swivel wheel, and if I turn it right now, it is adjusting the temperature of the car. And if you want to adjust the fans, you have to press it, then it goes off that modus, then you can adjust the fans, and then if you click it again, you can yet again adjust the temperature, which is very weird. Why wouldn't you just make 2 buttons? This almost makes less sense than putting the air conditioning in the touchscreen of the newer cars. So that's very weird in my opinion. Furthermore, I very much like the center console buttons, the volume buttons. They're all here, which is very nice, which is something I do miss in newer cars.